I guess we can begin right now. So Kritika, can you tell us a little bit something about yourself before we start our event?
Yeah. So, hi everybody. My name is Kritika. I am a PM intern at Salesforce right now. I'm a biomedical engineering student at the University of Waterloo, going into my last year. Uh, I know biomedical engineering and product don't have a correlation, but I can speak to that more. Like, there are some courses I'm taking that are more specific to products, such as some software courses, some business related courses. Outside of work and school, I like dancing, so I do Bollywood dancing.
Nice.
And yeah, I can speak more to my about my path to PM and whatever you guys like to hear.
Awesome.
All right, all right, uh, all right. Can't wait to hear from what you have for us, Kritika.
Okay, so my screen is you can see it, right?
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
perfect. Okay. So I'm just gonna start. You guys can put some questions in as well, and I can, answer those as well along the way. So essentially, I'm in my third year of biomedical engineering, going into my fourth year. Uh, so what happened is I was actually a student in Toronto looking for work in the summer, and I accidentally found this Toronto startup called Blueprint Software Systems. So that's my path, and it showed me that from there, I ideated, I worked with the engineers, and then we came up with this product called Storyteller. So essentially, Storyteller is it tells a story, and you can see the two different products side by side and see the version compare. Um, and there's like other features I added called revert, so you can revert to a previous version. Merge, which means you can merge two versions together. And I got really interested in product that way. And then yeah, so then I came back to school. I'm like, now what do I do next with my life? And then there was some postings for product manager positions, and I saw one in New York. It was called Lifton by ADP, and this was a mobile product. And I've never been a product manager for mobile products before, and I haven't even done any mobile development. So I picked up some React Native, which some of you might not know. It's like mobile development. So essentially, you can do for iOS and Android. You can develop for both apps. Um, and I applied, right? I just tested my luck, and the manager ended up like interviewing me. He came down from New York. He interviewed a bunch of students, and he took like two of us. And then I got to go to New York in January this year. So I was in New York from January to April this year, working on mobile products. Because of COVID, I came back in March. Um, but yeah, so I was really lucky. I got to work on mobile products and basically build out this experience between an employee and an employer. So essentially, let's say I'm an employee and one person in this call is an employer. The conversations we have are different from what we can have on Facebook, right? On Slack or even Gmail. Sometimes they need to be quick. So we were building out this app. Essentially, we can discuss pay, like sick days, PTO, time off, whatever. So it was really an interactive mobile app that's two-way. And I got to do that. I worked with engineers again, and I also worked with designers here. So I kind of learned a new world of design. And we came up with this app called Lifyan. And we, from start to end, we had to build up the whole experience. So like, I sign in, I have to like log my hours. Then you tell me if you approve those hours, and then there's certain apps that do that, but ADP is really strong in this domain. And we were making it more conversational rather than just putting in numbers and metrics, right? And then from there, I applied to Salesforce for this summer. And since COVID hit, I had to work remotely from home in Toronto. So I didn't get to go down to the Salesforce office or tower. But yeah, currently I'm growing and learning in my role. I'm actually working for the security team now. So we're interviewing companies like Amazon, Adidas, and Microsoft. So we're trying to understand their pain points with our security products, and we're changing up the way we build our security products and correlate different alerts that come in. So let's just say you have a hack on your laptop, right? It's considered an endpoint. We're trying to figure out how do we correlate different events that taken place and present it to the user, right? So yeah, I'm currently doing that right now from home in Toronto. And yeah, so my day to day includes like, user interviews, looking at functional requirements, finding that, intersection between design, tech, and business requirements. So my manager wants one thing, the business wants one thing, but the user wants another. So you have to find that balance. And that's
Mhm.
what currently I'm working on. And yeah, is there any questions you guys have?
All right. So for the audience, you guys can speak up, open your microphones, ask some questions, or you guys can ask it through the chat section. Uh, Mir,
Yeah.
how about some questions? Maybe you have something
Yeah,
prepared for
yeah. If
us.
nobody has any questions, but our co-host said, you can feel free to just add them in the chat or whatever. But to start off, I would actually like to ask, what got you into product management, especially since you said you're a biomed major. How did you
Right.
discover your love for PM?
Right. So I took this course. It was called Bet 350 in Waterloo. So essentially, if you have a course like this at school, it's basically called Customer User Experience, right?
Mm.
I took that course as a joke. Like, how a lot of us, we take courses as jokes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was a bird course. Let's just take it for fun. And that prof actually changed my perspective on a lot of the products we use. So like Facebook, how does Facebook advertisement work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like think about like any product you use. You have to start thinking about the intention behind it. Why was it built, right? And she kind
Mm-hmm.
of like as a student in that class, I started thinking about, why was Shopify built? Why was Bumble built? What's the user pain point there, right? And
Right.
she used to make us build these customer journey maps. Like, okay, I'm looking for someone to date. I need Bumble. I'm looking for like, making my e-commerce site in the lunch break. I need Shopify. So she used to make us think about these products, and we were all like just students. We're like, what is she trying to teach us here? But technically, what she was trying to teach us is you need to think about businesses, the pain points users have, and how they come to be. So if I'm someone traveling and I'm looking for a quick, cheap spot, right, to like, rent, right? I'm going to
Right.
use Airbnb. I'm not going to go on Facebook, or like, I'm not going to go on certain tools. I'm just going to go the quick way, which is Airbnb. And that's where I started realizing about the user experience behind products. And I got interested in this field, started researching a little bit more. I found out there's like UX design, right? I'm not
Mm-hmm.
really a design person. I like my technical side because I was taking some software courses as well.
Gotcha.
Like I told you, I was doing some mobile development and some web development.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, like that course introduced me to the world of like products and why they're built and the user experience. But in addition to like the technical aspects, I wanted to keep that around. So I found like technical PM roles. So what I did at ADP was actually a technical product owner role. But in the real world, it's called PM, but it was more technical. So we're looking at how are mobile products built? Like what's the back end? What's the front end like? What's the whole user experience like between an employee and an employer, right? So both aspects were considered. And yeah, that's what drove me to this field, like a course I took.
Wow, that's awesome. Crazy how a coincidence
Yeah,
can turn out to be a career, huh?
yeah. So
So
like challenge yourself. Like that's what I learned. Like challenge yourself. Take courses. Take like join. Join activities. Like right now, I'm leading this thing called study circles at Products by Women.
mm-hmm.
So when I was in New York, right, I was with other interns. But you get bored a little bit. Like how much can you travel around New York, right?
Right.
There's a lot to see, but like I wanted to do more than just work and like travel.
Right.
So I met this group. It's called Products by Women. And I used to just go in and like see like what they're up to. And they actually had like different events going on. And one of them was like a study circle. So what happened is like let's just say there's a product case study, right?
Mm-hmm.
We would actually sit in a circle and just discuss the product case study like
Oh
together.
wow.
So an example could be like, okay, Facebook usage has dropped by 15%. Explain why. And everyone here will like ideate and whiteboard together, right?
Wow.
So it was really cool. Like I did those type of things and I
Yeah,
got more interested in this field. Yeah.
that's awesome. Tell me, how did you discover that group from like
Yeah.
being in an
So
experience in New York?
yeah. So when you get to a new place, I think the first thing you should do is like go to Facebook, check out the groups, like the local groups, right?
Okay, okay.
I found like New York Product Women group. From there, they showed me a Slack channel. I went to the Slack channel. I started joining the events like physically,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I came back to Toronto because of COVID,
Right.
I kept in touch with them virtually, right?
Nice.
And now they made me a chapter lead for Toronto. So essentially, I'm leading the groups in Toronto now, not in New York
Nice.
anymore.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah. Thank you. And I'm just like an advice here is like, if you want to take anything away from this, is like go explore your options. Like anywhere, like there might be an opportunity at the end of it, right?
Right.
So Yeah, that's what I learned.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been exploring that idea of just taking that leap and trying something new, even if you know nothing about it. It's honestly,
Yeah,
it's an adventure.
yeah.
So going by that, I have another quick question. If none of the audience wants to ask yet, I'm gonna follow you up with this one. So, what when you applied for your first internship, did you have like a
Hmm.
portfolio or like how did you show that you were a good choice for this employment if you weren't even like
Right,
a computer science student in
right.
a sense?
So you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So I was gonna bring out the case study I did, but essentially I think it's gonna be a little bit time finding it. So I can share it if you guys would like, but essentially what I did is in that course we did a case study, right?
Mm-hmm.
We built this app for immigrants in Canada who were coming to Canada and needed some help financially, right?
Oh wow.
And the idea there was like you can pick any like niche I guess requirement as a student.
Mm-hmm.
So I think financial literacy or financial like education was needed for students. So I thought that was a space to jump in. And then my group and I, we actually built out a whole end-to-end app, right? And this is not technical, this was just a design, right?
Right.
Because we only have 4 months in the course. And we kind of explained why we picked which feature, the reasons behind each feature. So, like, we had this thing called, so the app was called Honey Pot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, to teach people, like, financially, like, how to save money, right? When you come to a new country, we had this honey pot with, like, the honey filling in, right? So, if your money is, like, reducing, the honey would drop. If you're saving a lot, the honey would overfill, right? The pot would overfill.
Mm-hmm.
And it would just tell you like how much to put in entertainment, how much to put in education, how much to put in food, travel, right? So the app was educating someone like how to really handle your expenses, right?
Yes.
And the idea was I picked certain features for my demo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to explain the reason behind it. So I made a case study out of it, right? And I can send it
Nice.
after to all of you guys who are interested. But
For
when I
sure.
made that case study, I presented it in all my interviews moving forward, right? Even Blueprint Software Systems, which is a small tech startup in Toronto. And what I learned is a lot of people are looking for actual work. They're not looking for you just talk. Like they're not looking for you like, oh, I ran a podcast or I did this, I did a presentation. They're actually looking for physical work that they can see and be like, yes, you're capable of like, running the show. You're
Right.
capable of doing like, something. So you can say all you want on LinkedIn. You can go find connections, but if you don't have physical work backing you up, there's no way out, right? And that's what I've learned.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, physical work and actual proof of
Yeah. Yeah. That you're
evidence of
capable of
job. Yeah.
doing something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
stronger than just words on a resume. Perfect. That's awesome
Yes.
advice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
All
Yeah.
right.
after that, oh, continue. Sorry.
All right. I wanted to ask, like, what tips would you give these young students, to get a head start and gain experiences? How do they start in working on a product or a project or something?
Yeah. Okay. So right now, I will say I built my network. Like I built some friends around me, right, that are interested in this field, right? So first thing I would do is find people with like-minded like interests, right? So if someone's interested in this chat, like to build a product, right, or to even start a case study, right,
Right.
or just run mocks, find someone who has the same like interest like you. Reach out, go open a Slack channel, go open like a Discord channel, right?
Yeah.
Start regularly communicating, book meetings. Like, okay, today we're going to do this. We're going to run user interviews. We're going to put out a survey, right? Next week, we're going to like learn some technical stuff together, right? Back end or front end, whatever you want, right? And then last week, we're going to have a demo ready. Have some structured, like, timelines ready in place. Work together. Show that you can work in a team. Don't do this independently, right? Because you want to show that you're also able to or capable of working in a team, right?
Right.
And deliver. Like, don't just like have these meetings, right? And don't get anywhere with them. So like that's what I liked about the course. It was very structured, and we had to deliver something, right? If you don't have a course, why not make a timeline, make a schedule, and actually deliver together? Show it on your resume, put it up there, put a portfolio, make a website, right?
Yeah.
What I did initially to show my work, I if you guys know GitHub Pages is, it's essentially like a free website, host domain where you can create your own website and show your work, right?
Hmm.
So try to use these things. We have a lot of free resources for students, especially because of COVID. Um, find people. Everyone's interested in doing work together. You just need someone to support you, right? And the more motivation you have, the more people like. That's why I joined the study circle. If people regularly motivate you and push you, right, you're
Yes.
likely to keep up with the activity. If you're in like alone, right, it's just like if you're alone and running, you really don't want to run. But if people are running with you, you want to run, right? So it's the idea of like having a good support group.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like, but look at Slack channels, look at your local area, and look at what people are up to. Like anytime I go to a new place, the first thing I do is go on Facebook, check out like, events near me, or check out groups near me, right?
Yeah.
Try to get into those groups, try to meet people in the field, right? Try to learn from others. You're still young. I'm still young. I'm learning from others, like my seniors, right?
Right.
Have an open mind. Don't close off any options right now. We're really young, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to learn from everybody.
That's awesome advice. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So tell me, what do you, because you said you found motivation from your groups and your peers, but what do you
Yeah.
do to motivate yourself? Because I believe that there's also a degree where you need to motivate yourself with, like, solo in a sense.
Yeah.
So what's your motivation to keep pushing this hard aside from your friends and your coworkers?
Yeah. So like you can bring up this app, right? What I do is I actually have this app where it sends me push reminders, right?
Nice.
Let me get it out for you.
Sure.
But
Yeah, go
it
ahead.
should be like it should come naturally. I think it should always come naturally. Like you should be interested in doing what you want to do, right? It shouldn't just be like someone's always pushing you, right?
Right.
But there's this thing called goal tracker. Are you able to see me?
Yes. I see your
So
screen.
Let me stop sharing.
There we go. Now we see
Can you see me?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's this app called Goal Tracker, right? Right here. And essentially you can have like goals. So mine is study coding and workout, right? And
Nice.
every day you do it, it actually populates like, so every time you do it, it will check mark you. Like you just have to come to the app and just check mark that you did it, right? Like this. If you don't do
Nice.
it, it starts automatically populating X. And it kind of like when I see this, I feel really bad if I see X's, right?
Right.
More than check marks. So try to motivate yourself. Like try to like look at this. This is
Oh
horrible,
my
right?
gosh.
But yeah, so if I see like next week I'm doing better, it kind of motivates me to keep coming back to the app and like actually focusing on my goals. So
Right.
try to find a way to like motivate yourself. Like it could be a point system. Okay, I can shop if I do this month, right?
Yeah.
But find some ways to like actually motivate yourself. It should come naturally, but there should be a motivating factor involved.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Feel free to shoot through the chat or just, reach out. But I'll give you a couple seconds. But if not, oh, there we go. I think we have one.
Where is the chat?
It should be on the lower left of your screen. There should be an option with like notifications down there. But if not, I'm just going to read to you because someone asked the question. This is from Pablo. He said, do most of your seniors also have a tech background or came from an engineering side?
That's a good question. No, some of them are cognitive science majors. Some of them are engineers, like they actually have a tech background. Some of them are like philosophy or psychology majors. The thing about product is, you need a lot of different minds and perspectives to build something, right? Think about Facebook dating or Facebook like groups. Why were these features created, right? There's a lot of minds that came together and said, this is a need or this is a want, let's make it. So you kind of need that creative, it's called creative circle essentially, and you need different perspectives. And when my manager is looking out for like, people to hire, he's always looking for different, new fresh brains, the new
Right.
talent. It's not just the same people with software engineering, right? It's not the same people.
Awesome.
So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, most of them are in the software domain, but a lot of them are like, from different backgrounds as well, not just like only studying software.
Gotcha. Awesome. Feel free to keep asking more questions to our awesome guest. But another question to follow that off is, so I'm sure that, like you said, not all of them have a major in like computer science or a background, but do you think it's very helpful to at least have a knowledge over a lot of the computer science sides like you do? You're not a product manager major essentially, but you have a lot of knowledge over it. You have these classes to back you up. Would you think that all of your advisors have the same idea?
Yeah. So yes, I do agree. I think the more technical you are, the better you are in the space, in terms of getting in and also staying in. So I've noticed like a lot of people, like the psychology major, right? She might have not
Right.
had that background initially getting in, but staying in, she's kind of adopted to like software terms. So like, it could be database, backend, whatever. She's kind of picked up a little bit of software within the role. And that's why like you might not have that mindset initially, but once you're in the role, you might actually pick up this knowledge. So it's good to like read up on it, like how are mobile products made? How are how does the backend and front end connect together? Or how does the server work, right?
Right.
But it's not essential to like actually code. That's what I'm getting at. You need to know
Oh
how it
wow.
works, but yeah, you don't really have to code. I barely do coding. I do more of like functional specking, which is like, okay, this is the requirements we need. How do we get there? Like, what are the technical things, tools we need to get there, right? And that's
Right.
where I actually work with my engineers to define all the technical, tools we have and what should we go out and buy.
Nice. All right, we have another question from Raymond.
So yeah,
What is
yeah.
the most important in every product? So is there like a most important factor or part of a product? And what would that be for you?
Okay, that's a good question, Raymond. So this co-op, I've learned this, and I strongly think everyone should live by it. Your users are very important. You're like, there's no point of a product if no one's going to use it, right? Let's be real.
Amen.
It could be the mobile product that I make, or it could be the security product I make. If the user is not going to use it, no one cares about it, right? And that's
Yep.
one thing I want to tell you. Like, I'm trying to right now make a product that's changing the way some people are going to work in the security teams, right? Whether it be external customers or internal customers. And I need buy-in. So buy-in is exactly like, it's basically exactly what it means, buy-in. Like, I need them
Yeah.
to agree that this product will be used, right? It's not just
Right.
something I make, I leave, and then it's just sitting there, right? I need to make sure there's
Right.
usability around it. So, like, I want to backtrack a little bit here. At ADP, when I was making that mobile product, right? We didn't have users for the mobile product yet. We had web users, right? So I had to get web users to mobile, right? But now it's a whole different scenario. Some people don't want to change the way they work, right? So now I'm getting different type of buy-in. So again, everything roots down to the user. Like, are they going to use it? The commonality here is like, you really need to get the user pain points right. You really need to build products or features based off the user pain points and make sure it ultimately like has an impact, right? If you keep building and building, like I can keep building like so many features, but if there's no
Right.
usability, who cares, right?
Right.
So you really need to study your users. That's my main
Awesome.
main point here.
So Raymond has a follow-up question, but then we'll follow with Justine after. But
Yeah.
first, Raymond's follow-up question is, how do you know if there's a user who will use your product? How do you guarantee that user?
Right. Okay, so that's a good question. You have to find a problem space, right? Uh, let's talk about Uber here, right? If
Okay.
everyone thought taxis were the only way, right? I think a lot of you might have heard this, right? If taxis were the
Yes.
only way, Uber should have not started this product, right? But what did they
Yep.
think? They saw a pain point, right? They saw, okay, why are people like, people have cars, people need employment, people need extra money. They have their cars sitting there at home, right? Why not
Right.
use them and drive people around, right? Make extra side money, right? So,
Yeah.
but this solves two pain points. Like, you can get extra money on the side, like Airbnb, right? But you're also like using your vehicle or your home, and you're also solving another pain point, which is someone needs a ride or someone needs a home, right? So
Right.
essentially, if you look at both situations, you came back down to the user, right? You saw a problem space that led to like thinking about certain users that will use this product. So like a taxi, someone who takes taxis frequently, or someone who rents places in hotels, right? We kind of have to
Right.
change the way those users think. Now, they can't think of like taxis and hotels. Now they have to think about Uber and Airbnb, right? So, Raymond, my follow-up answer would be: you might not even know users yet. You just know a problem space, right? You have to find those users. What are they currently doing, and how do we change them? How do we change their way of thinking, their usage, their use cases, right? We got to find those users based off a problem we identify. And sometimes it might happen to you, right? So the Airbnb guy, the CEO, he actually dealt with this issue himself. That's what led to the creation of Airbnb, right? So
Right.
go listen to these podcasts about how these different products started. One podcast I listened to is How I Built This by Guy Raz. So there's different CEOs for different companies like Bumble, Shopify, Spotify, right? why are these products created? So you guys can learn more about, where did the problem start? How do they find users? Like, if you guys might not know this, I found this so cool. The Bumble CEO had to go to university campuses and give out flyers and money so people would download the app,
Oh
right?
wow,
It's really interesting. Yeah. So she
that's
was getting
crazy.
people, like, she was providing incentive, right? She was
Yeah,
providing some incentives to get her app used. And a lot of people don't know this. People think Bumble is just working based off ads and like got famous out of nowhere, right? But initially
right.
you need to find that user base. You have to go out of your way. You won't have users coming to you if there's no product idea built, right? You have to find that
That's awesome. All
yeah.
right, now for Justine's question, and then followed by Mara's. So we have a couple questions here, so we're gonna
Yeah.
hustle it a little
Don't worry,
bit.
don't worry. Don't
Yeah.
worry, don't worry.
So first, Justine's first question is she's gonna be taking a Salesforce admin certification exam.
Okay.
So what do you have any advice for that?
Uh,
And then followed by how is the culture at Salesforce? So you can like tackle both questions at once.
so I can't really speak to the certification. I'm really sorry. I don't know about it much. I know they have like different sales certifications. They have different levels of certifications. Really sorry, Justine, I can't speak to that. It might be useful. It depends on where you want to head with it, right? Like look at the certification, the roadmap associated to it. Like where would you head with it, right? And see if it suits your needs or whatever you want to go into. But for the culture at Salesforce, I can speak to it. Currently, I'm remote, as you might see. I'm in my room. I love it. Like people are so accommodating. My mentor is really nice. He spends like so we have a mentor and you have a manager, right? And mentor is like basically called a trail guide. So they guide you throughout your project, and your manager meets you like once a week to check up on you, right? And my mentor has been so accommodating. I've met people through coffee chats. They've been really accommodating. They like to meet you. They like to learn about you. You can go reach out to people like in other interns. And the best thing about being remote, to be honest, like let's look at it in a positive light. You can reach out to anybody in Salesforce. It could be a Singapore office, it could be an Australia office, anywhere, right? Like I'm not restricted to my location anymore because I'm remote, right? So I'm meeting
Right.
people from all over the world right now. And sometimes, like with my project, my users are actually in Australia. So I'm working late
Oh
nights
wow.
and actually meeting them when it's their early morning. Yeah. So it's really cool because you're meeting so many people. You're actually learning about different cultures, the way people talk as
Right.
well. Yeah, it's really interesting. Everyone's really accommodating. And if you guys know about this, the internship program has this thing called Future Force. So essentially, they want to like make all the interns come back in some way or another, right? So they're really accommodating. They're giving us Uber Eats at home, a
Oh
lot of
wow.
food. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And a lot of swag is coming at home. But yeah, overall the culture is really nice. Like the internship program is really like tight knit. Like everyone knows each other. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's up to you like on how like you want to take it. Like do you want to meet people? Do you want to stay within your team? It's all up to you. You can
That's
reach
awesome.
out to people and book coffee chats. Yeah.
Next question from Mara is do you have any resume tips to get into product management?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So I'll tell you when I recently so from my recent resumes to my older days of resumes, right? Resume writing or editing. Um, so add metrics, quantify your work, right? Where did it make an impact? Like did you like user acquisition grow? Did you have more people, engaged with your product or whatever you did, your project, right? How many people were involved, right? How many user interviews did you do? So when I added metrics, like I did over 10 plus user interviews, I seen a lot of people actually respond to my, when I applied, right? I seen a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
respond back. I had more response rate compared to when I just wrote, did this project, design this, done, right? So it's not really
Right.
about like what work you did. It's also about quantifying it and also like saying the impact it had, right? That's a big tip I would have for you. Not just like the what, also the why, right? And
Yeah.
again, connect the dots. So like it could be a course, it could be a degree, it could be um, it shouldn't even be related to product. Think about it that way. But how do you connect it back to product, right? So what I did with this New York PM group, I initially went to like, learn about, products and women, right? But I kind of connected the dots. I started joining the circle, right? I started taking parts in discussion, showed my leadership skills, right? Kind of led the group now. I'm leading it in Toronto. So it's like, what do you
Nice.
achieve out of these like things you're doing on the side? It doesn't have to be like, it doesn't really have to be always about product, right? Other
Right.
things like I teach dancing. Why do I teach it? Right? I like dancing, but what's the intention behind it for me? Right? Connect it back to product. I like leading groups. I like participating in these things where people are meeting me from different backgrounds. Right? I'm learning about different
Yeah.
perspectives. Funny thing, I actually taught dance to cancer patients. What about the people in suffering through cancer? So it's like, what do you do with these opportunities that come by your way, right? Do you take
Right.
them or do you let them go, right? So think about that. And yeah, back to the resume point. Sorry. Yeah, take these opportunities and make them like connected back to product somehow. I would suggest that.
Awesome. That's awesome advice. Next question from Phoebe. How important is having a focused user base, especially when the product is new?
Okay, that's a good question. Uh, okay, so with product, you really have to know your users, right? And
Yes.
I'll give you an example here. Okay, there's Facebook groups, right? And
Uh-huh.
Facebook is a huge company, right? And they have a lot of
Yes.
users. Like likely everybody in this call has a Facebook account, right?
Uh-huh.
And then there's this product called Meetup. I don't know if any of you guys know about it. Does anyone here know about Meetups?
Uh,
No?
I
Yes?
think so.
Yeah. Maybe? Okay. So what I'm trying to get here is that Facebook groups has so many users, right?
Right.
But a lot of people don't end up attending the physical events on Facebook groups,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
They
yeah,
just say
yeah.
we're going, but they might not show up, right?
Right,
But
right, right.
Meetups is a niche product. It's a niche product. It's targeting niche users. It has its focused user group on people who are actually going to attend the users, like the events that take
Ah, I
place, right?
see. Yeah.
So what I'm trying to get here is that depends on your product goal, right? If you really want like to focus on a particular group, go that way. But if you're a bigger company, you're likely going to focus on around, like, you're going to be well rounded and focus on every user group you can, right? So
Right.
it is important. I do think having a focused user group is important, but what's the product goal? Is it to like increase engagement? Is it to drive revenue? What is the goal? Based off that, your product user, like your users that you want to focus on.
Gotcha.
So like Meetup's goal wasn't to be like Facebook, not like a communicative tool. They wanted that offline present where you meet physically, right? So
Right.
Meetup did that really well, and it's a niche product. But Facebook is really strict on like, okay, it has to be on these groups, it has to be events linked, it could be virtually, they don't care. But they didn't focus on that part, right? Where you can actually have an offline presence. So really consider that. Like, what are your user groups you're targeting, and then build a product.
Wonderful. Yeah. Keep shooting the questions, everybody. This is great stuff. So yeah, feel free to keep asking questions. For me personally, another one of my questions to you
Yeah.
is, when it comes to these products, do you find like ways where you as an individual relate to the product you're pushing? Like, do you always find like that relationship between you and the product, or is it just business for you in a sense?
Yes, that's a good question. And I was actually discussing that with a friend this morning. So a lot of you might know Facebook is, I think product roles are coming up next week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their RPM program is opening up. So go apply if you think you qualify and you want to jump into the product space. So that's what we're talking about today. And I really like Salesforce. But at the end of the day, it's a B2B product, right? So it's a businesses like Adidas, Facebook, Amazon,
Right.
Microsoft, right? And you're right. Like sometimes that aspect of relating to the product I'm missing. Like I really like making products. Like I like, learning about different companies and how they use my work. But
Yeah.
sometimes I can't be like, oh, okay, my friend is using that product tomorrow. Like that's not. I
Yeah.
don't feel that way, right? And that's exactly why I'm really interested in B2C companies. And moving forward, I am applying to B2C companies as well. But I don't have experience in that domain yet, right?
Yeah.
And that's why, again, what I'm doing is in this interview or this session is I'm building out case studies for consumers now, not B2B, but more B2C products, right? So exactly
Yeah.
what I'm saying, like go outside and build case studies, right? And that's where I think I can relate to customers more and who I'm building out for, because I can see that pain point and I want to build up for them, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, this is a really good question. Like this, I just had this conversation with my friend this morning, and he agrees too. We both been in the B2B space, and we kind of want to jump ship now to the B2C space. It's
Yeah.
tougher. It's actually tougher because you have like your user group is like now, extensive. Like you're focusing on so
Mm-hmm.
many people. So if you do screw up as a PM, you get a lot of blame, right?
I
I
see.
know this. I know this because I have a friend in Facebook right now, and one mistake can cost you a lot. Like Facebook dating wasn't a good feature. It didn't turn out to be a good feature, right?
Oh wow.
So
Yeah, yeah.
you have to really make sure the products you're introducing, the work you're doing, has an impact, but is also it's going to be used, right? That's the end intention here.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
I would love to relate to Facebook dating, but if that's not what I want to relate to, and I'm making it for my users, I have to make sure that there are other users out there that are going to use it, right? So be
Right.
careful and mindful of who you're building out for. Yeah.
All right. So, hopping off the B2B to B2C topic, do you recommend that people start with one or the other? I know that you said B2C is harder, but do you recommend that
Yeah.
people go straight into that, or do you recommend they start with B2B?
Yeah. So as a newly, when I was an intern, right, and I was looking to
Yes.
get into this space or even interviewing, I took what came to me, right? Let's just be real, right?
Okay.
That's how it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But if I could go back a little bit more, I would actually consider making more case studies around B2C products, right? Focusing on these companies, like, tailoring my resume and my cover letter or whatever I have, companies, so it'd be Facebook, Spotify, whatever, right? And really
Right.
showing my passion of why I want to work there. I've noticed it's worked for my friends. Some of them write like really interesting, cover letters where they talk about like where they use Spotify and what they think went wrong with Spotify, right?
Right.
So even if you can reason like, okay, as a PM, like if I were to be a PM, this is what I would fix in your cover letter, and kind of
Mm-hmm.
show that like you really want to work for this company, I think it might, help you out. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, like try to make yourself stand out, and that's what I found out. Like it's really hard because there's so many people applying, but there's
Mm-hmm.
always a creative way to find, and you have to find
Yeah.
that way for you. Yeah,
Totally.
yeah,
So I saw you had that goal tracker recently. Can
yes.
you share with us like some of your goals right now, especially with COVID and everything happening? What are your goals for like the near, maybe even long term future, short term and long term? Because I know it's important to have these goals, especially in a career like this.
Yeah. So right now it's to finish my product and actually have a demo ready for August 21st, my last day at Salesforce as an intern. And then I go back to school. So yeah,
Nice.
right now I'm really focusing heavily on like making sure this product is workable, usable. I'm working with the engineers day in and day out, sometimes even night in Toronto. So that's my goal, like my short term goal. My long term
Yes.
goal is to actually find a company that I can resonate with. Um, and actually, I feel like I should go out and I would like be a brand ambassador for them. Like yes, you should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking at those type of companies that are compelling for my career goals. Uh, and yeah, I'm focusing on mentoring others as well. Like that's what I found in the products by women, and I like doing these things. It makes me feel good because I wish I had that mentor, right? Um,
Right.
right now at Salesforce, luckily I found someone who's willing to spend 20 minutes a day just to talk to me virtually, right? And he hasn't even met me yet. That's the crazy relationship. Like he has not even physically seen me yet, but he spends 20 minutes of his day every day telling me this is what you have to do. This is what our plan is, right? And that's the mentorship I look for, and that's the mentorship I want to give back to the community.
Right.
Yeah, and that's like my long term goals, like looking for something that I resonate with in terms of career, and focusing on like leadership skills, building like a community around product or helping people in terms of mentorship.
Yeah. Wow, some really good stuff.
Yeah. And I think if you guys if you take anything away from here today is if you learn something here, try to share with people right?
Right.
The more you share, the more it looks like you know your stuff, but also I don't think you can learn fully without even share. Like you have to really know your stuff, right? And the only way to know
Right.
your stuff is by sharing and actually showing that okay, I can explain this topic, I can explain this product, I can explain I don't know something I've learned, right? The moment you share it, it kind of like solidifies in your brain that yes, I finally understood it.
Yeah.
It's solid knowledge now, right? Yeah,
All right. So, in your experience with working with all of these companies as both an employee and an intern, what are some of the
yeah,
biggest problems you've faced, and how did you solve them, or how did you go about solving them? What was your thought process?
yeah. So I think in terms of Salesforce, it's just a remote internship. So I'm navigating that every day. meeting new people. It's like when you jump on a call right now, right? It's like I don't know any of you, but sometimes you have to build that relationship because moving forward, we're going to be working together, right? So it's like introducing yourself, speaking highly towards like your interests. Like this is what I want to do in this project. I have this much time. I'm time constrained. I want to get this done. Let's go. Virtually, you have to get that going. Some other obstacles I face are, getting alignment with your engineers. Like you really have to make sure that they're ready to build this product out. Like you can have this vision, but if no one sees that vision other than you, like it's not going to be built, right? So you really have to have like a proper alignment between all parties. So your users, your engineers, the company's mission, and you, right? So yeah, those are
Right.
my key takeaways here. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So, do you think also everyone audience feel free to ask questions still. We can keep going. But so popping off on that,
Yeah.
how do you make your vision clear to these engineers? Like how do you outline this in a way where they see what's in your head? Because sometimes I struggle with that. Like I have this vision that I want other people to help me with, but they can't see it
Yeah.
clearly. So how do you let them see what you see?
Okay. So yeah, so this matters. Like your team size matters here, right? Uh, right now, I'm working in a large company, right? Uh, some people know my work directly. Some people just know it indirectly, right? And you
Right.
really have to know, like, in the security space, like I can be working on something, but in parallel, someone can be doing the same exact thing. So since we're such a big company, we might not even know that we have the same, target or end goal, right? So in terms of vision alignment and like getting people on board, really communicate your work. It speaks. Like what, like you have to make sure your work speaks. It could be a demo. It could be like we have this thing called all hands call, which is like you show your work, like like just a quick 1 minute like update of what you're doing, right, in your org, so your organization, right, and get stuff done. So like make sure you're getting your work done and showing it's actually executing. It's not just like words. It's actually like people are working on it, engineers behind it. We have budget. We're moving forward to a goal. So yeah, I would really say like make sure you communicate and voice that like this is being done and everyone should know about it. It shouldn't just be like in the back end, like it's just people don't even know about it, and then all of a sudden you show it. And it's like, oh
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
she was working on that, right? Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
You
And just
seem
have
like
sorry, and just have a growth mindset. Like, let's say I'm doing something and someone else is in that space, right? Be curious. Like, ask them, what are you doing differently, or where can we collaborate, right? Like,
right.
ask them for feedback. Like sometimes I found out like something correlated between my and someone else's work, right?
Hmm.
I booked a meeting, right? And I showed her what I'm doing. She showed me what she's doing. And I took some feedback from her, and we're like, why not like collaborate and actually get our work going together, right? So
Yeah.
try to do that. Try to speak to others and learn from others, right?
Hmm.
You'll
Totally.
go a long way.
I
Yeah.
agree. I think community is indeed very important, especially with any kind of job, really.
Yes, yeah, yeah. In startups, it's a whole new world. I used to sit next to the VP, so imagine that, right? As an intern,
Oh,
right?
wow.
We were just 50 people. And right now I think I'm in a 50,000 like people company.
Oh my
So just 50
gosh.
people. Yeah, yeah. So in Toronto, I used to commute an hour to work, and I used to sit next to the VP. I have to make sure I'm doing my work on time because it's more
Right.
scary, right? You have to
Yeah.
deliver. In startups, you have to deliver. It's not.
Hmm.
It's on Salesforce. It's not like your work won't go unnoticed in a startup. I'll be really honest here. Like every single person has transparency in a startup what you're up to. Otherwise, you're not needed. That's how it works, right?
Right.
So so really like make sure in big companies your work is noticed, because in startups it's likely to be noticed.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But I guess that's like a double-edged sword in a sense of where if you're not working up to par, it's very noticeable in a startup.
Yeah. 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 No, and I joined a startup without knowing anything about product, right? So take it
Right.
from me. There's a lot of growing, like, learning opportunities. You can grow easily in a startup. I can't grow as quick in Salesforce, right? Especially being a
Yeah.
remote internship. I have to pick up like a lot of security knowledge myself, right? I have to read books. I have to actually read the documents they have prepared, what products they currently have, why are we building this out. But in a startup, everything's just there. Like you can talk to the VP, you can talk to the salesperson. Everyone will have something to share, and it's quick. You can get your knowledge, your fact check quick. In a big
Nice.
company,
Yeah.
I'm like being connected from one person to another. It's taking some time
Right.
because we have to find,
Yeah. Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
common meeting space. So it's very different. It's very, very different.
Yeah. Let's build on that. So, especially like let's consider somebody who maybe doesn't know a lot about product, and like you said, you
Okay.
didn't know a lot when you went into your first startup. How do you go about that, not knowing much? Like, how do you
Yeah.
make use of these resources? And is it a good idea to even go in without knowing much and just dipping into the water like that?
Yeah. So first of all, going into the deep end right from the start, I think is the best way to learn. I'm being very honest. It's worked for
Mm-hmm.
me, and I think it's worked for a lot of people I know. Um, if I tell you to cook something and I just give you like the materials, right, and I tell you like go cook it, right, you're gonna be
Yeah.
stuck. But you're gonna figure your way out. You're gonna use your resources. You're gonna use apps. You're gonna use your web platforms, whatever, right? And that's exactly what
Yes.
happened in the startup. Like I knew there's people around me, but I didn't want to show like I'm like I don't know anything. I'm just coming
Right.
into a new space, right? So I used to Google a lot of stuff. And one thing I did, and I repeat this, is on the in my like when I used to listen to like songs, right? People used like in startups we all have like our own alone time. So we're
Mm-hmm.
doing our work, but we have like music playing or something, right?
Yeah.
I used to have a podcast playing in the back of my like my mind, right? So like
Yeah.
essentially I would learn about different products being built and why we're building them, right? Or have YouTube videos running or mock interviews or something, right? And
I see.
people would think I'm like jamming out to music, but I'm actually picking up product knowledge, right? I'm learning why products are built, and I'm essentially giving all my learnings back to the company in some way or form, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I recommend doing that. If you have some time, you're building out a project, but you think you need a break, put on a podcast, learn from someone's experience, right? There's so
Yeah.
many resources on YouTube for free. Like it's insane to me. Like I just wish I knew about this,
Right.
when I was younger, like way younger,
Yeah.
right? Like honestly, I tell my friends every day, I wish I knew about this field in like first year. I would have like boom, like zoomed through it, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
hard when I got to know about it in third year, right? So yeah, that my biggest advice is like learn about these things. Go to your free resources, YouTube, Spotify. There's so many podcasts on product. I can like I told you like how I built this is one. Um, I think there's
Right.
a few more I can link after, but like a lot of them talk about like the need for products, why we built them, how we build them, right? And it's directly coming from CEOs. So imagine how that is, right? Like you're learning from CEOs and you're just sitting at work and building out a product yourself, right?
Right.
So really take that advice. Like be strategic with your time. Um, don't just sit there and like listen to music all the time. Like work out and listen to
Mm-hmm.
music then. But like try to use your time when you have it and listen to podcasts. I really recommend that.
I
It's
have
truly
another.
helped me.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. That's awesome. But
Yeah.
quick question, and this is more off the grid in a sense where you don't have to answer this if you're not comfortable.
Yeah.
But it's basically about income in this field. I know you're an intern, so I was
Yeah.
gonna ask, what are you gaining out of this other than experience? Is it
Okay.
just like are there benefits? Is there monetary benefit? Like you know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 There is monetary benefits here. Salesforce is a huge company. So basically, in my school at the University of Waterloo, we have this co-op system. Every job they post has to have a monetary aspect and has to be for 16 weeks. Um,
Gotcha.
so relative to like my first co-op in Toronto, I wasn't paid much. It was like around 25 an hour, which is nothing in Canada, right? But now it's actually a lot in Salesforce. Like I'm not gonna say the exact number, but it's a good
Yeah.
amount for an intern who's working from home. Um, yeah, and the company's awesome. They're sending so much free stuff like food and swag. So
Nice.
don't really think about those things. I know even in the back of my mind sometimes I think about that stuff, but I truly think like if you don't feel like you're working or you're not making impact, all of this is useless. Like you could have so much money in your pocket, you could have so much swag, you can have so much food, but how
Mm-hmm.
much of the work you're actually doing is making an impact work, right? That matters to me a lot more. How am
Yes.
I going to grow
Yes.
in this field, right? Yeah, so like that's the thing that I consider when I joined this company as well. Like I knew it's a good opportunity, but as I said before, like I'm always learning. I'm always like looking for newer opportunities and learning. And I
Right.
think that's
Right.
what you guys should think about. Like products for Circle, like the products by women, the study circle. that I run is nothing. It has no benefits for me, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
being very honest. Like I went there, I didn't even think I was going to lead the chapter in Toronto, um, and now I'm actually running the show, right? So
Yeah.
there's no monetary benefits. There's no like, there's nothing in there for me. But what I like is that I'm learning. I'm constantly learning. I'm growing. I'm meeting new people. And you know, it's funny. It says products by women, but we have men join us all the time. And some of these
Nice.
men reach out to me on LinkedIn, and we talk about the case studies a little bit more in depth. So it's like I'm growing in terms of my mindset, but not really like, there's no benefits other than that. So think about that stuff too.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. So purpose over money and like learning and growth are
Yes.
really the
Yeah.
essence of it. And I agree with that. Honestly, I feel like learning and growth now anyway will like the money will follow, I think, with this kind of thing.
Yes.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that benefit
I
of
totally
having
agree.
that purpose, yeah, yeah. The benefit of having that joy and like that energy in what you have is more fulfilling, I believe, than money.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you
Add,
mentioned oh, continue.
oh, so I just want to add another point. Like we have some intern talks with VPs at Salesforce, right? And
Yes.
a lot of the time, interns ask like, "How did you earn this title as a VP or a senior VP?" Right? And they have the same exact answer across the board. Like they didn't really want those titles. It just came with the work they were doing, right? Exactly like the
Wow.
money, right? It comes with the money you're doing. If people see your work is good, they're likely to promote you, right?
Yeah, yeah, that makes
So
sense.
think about that. Yeah, yeah.
That's
Sorry, what were you
awesome.
asking?
Oh yeah, you I believe you mentioned interviews earlier. I want to touch on that.
Yes.
What are interviews like for these internships and these jobs?
Okay. Okay. So, you guys can also join my products by women circle, like those study circle sessions.
I'll look that
What
up.
happens
Yeah.
there is we go through like these study sessions. So like we pick a case study. It could be product design, it could be product metrics, it could be execution. There's different types of product questions that come your way in these interviews. So a company like Facebook and Salesforce would be really into like learning about your leadership skills and a lot about your product knowledge, right? Like where are you in terms of like, are you like a beginner in the product space? Are you like, do you know your stuff? Have you built out products before? But a company like a startup, right? Like think about startups or NGOs, nonprofit organizations, right? They're really interested in your capability of being creative because they're just starting off, right? They need that like
Right.
mindset of like creativeness. They need new products to come in line in the pipeline they're building out. So in terms of the interview process, really target the company and look at their job requirements. This is what I do always. I look at the job requirements and I go search up like questions on Glassdoor or whatever, right? But
Gotcha.
if you really want to do well, I would say like know that product inside out. Like for Salesforce, I actually downloaded a free trial as a student and I went through each like cloud they had, like marketing cloud, sales
Nice.
cloud, and when the interviewer had some questions, I could like literally correlate any of my experience back to their products. So I built this at this Toronto startup, and oh, you guys have something similar in Salesforce, right? So try, even if they ask you like behavioral questions, try to connect it back to the company somewhere or form. Um,
Yeah.
so like really download these products. Like you guys must use Facebook. The Facebook interviews will come easy, right? Likely we think that, but they have other questions like, okay, let's think about the Facebook Friends feature, right? There's a drop in the usage
Mm-hmm.
for the Friends feature. People are not sending requests anymore. What happened, right? So these type of the questions, they get you like thinking what's really going on in the product world, right?
Yeah.
So really study the product, really study the questions you could be asked regarding the product. And yeah, like have an open mind. Like, sometimes in interviews they might throw like, they might keep probing around the questions like okay, so what's your background? What did you do to here? How did you build it? Like some of my
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
questions have been really laid back and conversational where like they keep probing around your work rather than like asking you questions about the company. And then like some companies like Salesforce again, I also interviewed Google. It's more about their company. Like what is their mission? What are we building out? How are you going to help us, right? So
Right.
be prepared for any type. Like be prepared about your personal, like your personal projects, but also the company and their goal, their missions, their products.
Gotcha.
And practice, guys. Like do a lot of mock session interviews. Initially when I started interviewing, right, because in the co-op, like in my school we have a co-op program, we have to interview often. Have a camera ready in front of you, right?
Yeah.
and start interviewing yourself. Like have a question on the board or like, on a PowerPoint and start interviewing yourself. Like, okay, this is how I would go about this, right? Watch the recording, see where you're going wrong, then put friends into the picture. Start getting friends to give you feedback, right?
Yeah.
And again, if you have friends with the same interests, you're likely to learn more, like where you're going wrong, right?
Right.
So it's good to have friends in the space. You have to build your network, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a saying, right? Your network is your net worth. It could be also like in terms of like, practicing interviews, like learning about knowledge, not just like, getting connections to companies, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds beautiful.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if our audience doesn't have any questions, I guess we can we can proceed with some concluding questions. All right.
Sounds good. This is really fun. Like I'm
Uh,
learning a lot of my work and my past as well.
I have
yeah.
a question.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Hi, my name is Bernardo. I'm one of the founders of the of Fiesta. So first of all, thank you so much for being on here.
Yeah,
Um,
no worries.
I would say so a couple of things about you. You have so much passion that it's just really contagious when you speak. You're just really passionate, and you're just
Thank you.
really energetic. I'm sure that you sort of like the people that you work with. You must be really fun to work with when you have a sort of that much passion. So definitely props to you. I'm sure other people have told you that. As you talk about sort of kind of like you had worked at a startup and now you're kind of Salesforce and now sort of you're eventually moving on to a different role and obviously you want to finish strong at Salesforce. And sort of like looking at sort of you said you spend a sort of time looking at sort of different functionality. Just what are your thoughts on Fiesta? I don't know how much you had a chance to look at it, but just in a nutshell, it's kind of like the social platform where you can create interactive online events, but it's kind of where you have like marketplace events with video conferencing with social media elements. So kind of like if you combine like Eventbrite with Zoom with like Instagram, TikTok, that's what Fiesta is. And we are releasing some really cool like gamification things over the next week that we think will be really key to sort of acquiring new customers. And for example, like if we have right now we have 23 people on this call, but if we could like make it really easy for them to invite their friends, can we like double the attendance, that kind of thing, right? Because we had in this case a phenomenal speaker, but yeah, I was just wondering, what do you think? And is there some sort of functionality that you'd be like, oh, that I like Fiesta, but if it had this or that, it would be so much better.
Right. Okay. Thank you for the kind words, first of all. And honestly, when I actually signed up, it was so quick. The user experience was amazing. Like it was just quick. Like I integrated with Facebook and I signed up quickly. Awesome job on that. In terms of I really like you can join and you can RSV and it just changes based off that. So it's like a pivot, right, between both.
Mm-hmm.
We can speak to more about the user experience if I keep playing around with some of the functionality. But honestly, for what I'm seeing, it's awesome. It's literally mimicking Eventbrite a little bit, but it's more like friendly. It feels more user friendly, That's what I've noticed so far.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I would totally down the road, if I do some events, I might use this and leverage this platform as well. So kudos for you. Kudos to you, sorry.
Great. Yeah, I was talking to an investor. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, and if I find anything where we can add, if I can find anything like another place where we can add a feature or functionality, I would for sure reach out.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, but I was talking to one investor and he was like, yeah, this is like the modern version of Eventbrite, which you have going on. Because there's just a lot more sort of things that you can do there. But no, I appreciate your feedback. It's always great if the user interface seems very seamless to you, then you study a whole lot of different products. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Yeah. No, and one more thing I want to point out is I've actually attended events on Eventbrite, virtual events, and the streaming happens within the event. It happens below. Like you have to scroll down. It happens below. You might not even know it. You might miss it. So here it was like the event was on the top. So I kind of noticed that. It was really interesting how you guys differentiated yourself by having the event on the top and join or RSVP now. Yeah.
Yep. Great. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Good job on this platform, by the way. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. You can also reach out to me on my LinkedIn. It's the same, Kritika Mehta. So Kritika space Mehta.
Kritika Mehta.
All right. Thank you for that, Kritika. Uh, well,
Yeah.
if the audience doesn't have any questions, then I have a final question for you, Kritika.
Yeah.
If you were in our position right now, being interviewing yourself, what would you have asked yourself?
Wow, that's a good question. Okay. So, yeah, you know what I would ask? I would ask, how did you make use of your time in COVID? The reason why I say this is a lot of people might be doing interesting stuff in COVID, right? Some might be venturing off to a startup. Some might be, finding a niche space to tackle, I know a lot of my friends are building out dashboards to show, the COVID metrics. What have you done with your time in COVID would like interest me after, post COVID. I would be really interested to know what's happening. And what did you do with your time? So yeah, like keep your eye out for these type of questions where they ask you about where do you use your time, what's your hobbies. Try to relate it back to like somewhere where you've grown. You've seen you've improved. So yeah.
Okay. So what have you been doing during this time during the COVID days?
COVID days. Okay. So I'm leading the product circles group. Feel free to join me, anybody. We run bi-weekly sessions on Saturday. So we send out case studies on Wednesdays. So you can review the case studies, and we don't give you like the speaker notes because we want you to think. And on Saturday we go through the whole case study and run it. So I kind of like work with a team in New York and in Toronto, and we kind of prepare these case studies. Outside of that, I'm working on this final year design project. So in engineering in Waterloo, we have this thing called FYDP. So it's a final year design project. Yeah, and my teammates and I are discussing what are we going to build up for this final year design project. That's what I use. I basically outside of work I do that and I dance. That's all.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Could I follow up that real quickly with a quick question about your products? Like, for example, the product circles or products by women. Is there a way? Because I know you were saying earlier that we could feel free to connect with it and reach out to
Yes.
it. Is there like an
Uh,
observer role where we could maybe observe what you're doing in those things, or maybe check it out? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So to be honest, 50% of the people just come to observe. 50% actually interact and like have things to say. So one person
Nice.
leads it. So it's usually Eva or I. Eva is a
Okay.
product manager in New York for a startup as well. So Eva and I lead it. Usually some people pitch in their, whatever they feel about the product. We usually ask questions to break off, into discussions.
Yes.
But most of the time it's just people are observing. So feel free to join. And in the end, we always ask for feedback. Like, what did you think about this? Where can we include you more? All that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I will check that out. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. I can also like send you the link after and yeah, you can share it
Yeah,
amongst
please.
everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
all right. All right. I guess that's it for our event for today.
Yeah.
Katika, thank you
Awesome.
so much for coming here and sharing us your stories and your tips. Uh, I'm pretty sure a lot that would help a lot of our audience here. So thank you so
Yeah.
much, and we hope to hear more from you at TechOps.
Yeah. And feel free, everybody, feel free to reach out. I can help wherever you guys need some help. I always needed help before, and some people reached out, some people didn't. And I know there's like that, that gap where we need to bridge, students to these type of, activities, events. So yeah, let me know, and I can send you guys some links about product by women, some resources if you want to do mock sessions as well, and yeah, even some books I read. So yeah. But also check out
All
How
right,
I Built This by Guy Raz. I really recommend it, guys. It's awesome.
all right. Yeah, it sounds awesome. Uh, we really appreciate the time you give us. We appreciate the talks and the tips and the effort to reach out to the people. And for the
Yeah.
audience, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much, for attending the event. Really appreciate you coming, guys. Everyone giving time to attend the talk. And that's it. So goodbye, everyone. Hope to see you again sometimes in our future events.